Lincoln 103, 5 Lincoln 102, Lincoln 103 and 102.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
Henry 8, Henry 9. Respond to gate 437 Bravo for your dignitary detail. 3K 911 unattended 400 lower level near carousel 4 black bag. GTA in progress 401 parking structure section 4 boy.
Responding to 401 parking structure, section 1 boy.
415 passenger onboard aircraft.
Control 2 Franklin en route.
484 suspect, female, Hispanic, 28 years of age, blue jeans, no further.
Control 5 Frank 401 is en route.
Good morning and welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Radio Show. Glad that you're joining us. Happy that you're awake this morning like I am. We have quite the full show for you. A lot to talk about, a lot to look at in the news, and a couple of announcements. So, without delay, again, welcome to this edition of the Private Officer Radio. We want to thank our sponsor right off the top of this hour, Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you. Now, Body Armor USA has a great ballistic vest, but more than that, they have protection gear, whether it be gloves or shirts. They have a line of protective clothing. You want to check out our friends at BodyArmorUSA.com today. Give them a call. I know that our friends over there can help you out. And make sure to let them know that you're a member of Private Officer International or even a supporter. Just be a supporter. Tell them that you are a supporter, and they're going to give you an additional discount right there before checking out. Body Armor USA. We've got what it takes to protect you. Hey, if you want to be a sponsor, it's very inexpensive. Now, not only will you get radio spot ads listened to by thousands of people every day, you're also going to get a website ad, a banner ad, and you're also going to get noticed on all of our social media platforms, all for one low package price. Send an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, or call us Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Here we go, 705-831-8109. Again, all-inclusive advertising for one very low price. You cannot get a better deal. You know, when you market with us, you are going to reach your target market, no doubt about it, because all of our listeners, all of our followers on social media, all of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people who go to our website are all protection, law enforcement, public safety, LP professionals. So you're going to be hitting your target market anytime that you market right here with Private Officer International. So call or send us an email for more information today. There is a lot of news that we need to tell you about as well. And in the bottom half of our radio program, we're going to be discussing school security and some of the issues that we've been seeing in the last couple of years. And, you know, there's so many knee-jerk reactions happening across the country with all the shootings. People are reacting, trying to get armed security or law enforcement in their schools that don't have them. Many areas do not have SROs. Law enforcement agencies are already understaffed, and they can't afford to put manpower into the schools. So many companies are stepping up. Many security firms are saying, oh, we can do it. We can be an SRO. We can provide school security. We can provide armed officers. We're just as good, if not better, than law enforcement. So in some cases, that may be kind of sort of true, but unfortunately, in many other cases, it's not true at all, because as many people do not want to acknowledge, security is not security is not security. So a school security officer, a security officer acting like a SRO and having to deal with many problems, all of the different environments of a school, it's not like just sitting over at a retail shopping center or an auto sales lot or some other manufacturing company. No. When you have officers, security personnel at a school, whether it be, high school, elementary, or post-secondary, college and university, you're going to have a lot of problems and issues way past what normally occurs at other accounts. So you just don't take on a school account of any type. I think you're going to be able to provide the routine applicant in that position, and everything's going to work out. So we're going to look at that this week and next week, because there are a lot of problems popping up, and that's to be expected. But we want to address, discuss, digest, and maybe even solve some of those issues in the next 2 weeks here on the Private Officer Radio Show. Now, one of the other things that I want to get off my chest right now, before we go any further, is an incident that occurred in Denver, Colorado. You may have seen this in our news alerts, in our biweekly newsletters. You may have seen it on the media. You may have heard about it from friends on social media. But just in the last day or so, 3 Allied Universal security officers working a private contract at the Denver Regional Transit District took a man, challenged him to a fight, and then locked him into a men's room, put some type of sign, I guess it was a out-of-order sign, on the restroom so others wouldn't use it and disturb them. And for 43 minutes, the security personnel beat the man and took turns hitting him and gave him what I call a good old-fashioned beatdown. 3-1, that's not a fair fight, even if fights were allowed. It was a situation where they bullied the man, they challenged him, and then they attacked him like a gang. Now, you might think, well, that's his version, that's his words. He said, she said, they say it was self-defense, whatever, yada, yada, yada. But in this particular case, there is video from the transit center where they were at, which shows them going in and out of the bathroom. It shows the man going in, but never coming out for 43 minutes. And when he does suddenly reappear after 43 minutes, he has a big bandage on his head. Where he got the bandage, they don't have those in some type of machine in the men's room. Obviously, one or all or some of the security guards gave him some type of bandage after they were done with the beatdown. Now, one of the men was arrested first, and then they identified the other 2, and one of the 3 was a supervisor, supposedly. Now, this really irritates me for a number of reasons. First of all, you don't use your position, authority, whether it be law enforcement or security, to challenge people or to have any type of physical confrontations unnecessarily, and you don't gang up on someone. That's gang mentality. That's thug mentality. You're there to protect people, not to beat them, harm them, hurt them, and be criminals. The other thing that really irritates me, there's several others actually, but in this environment, in this day and age, when law enforcement and security are constantly being ostracized and looked at as people who are thugs behind the badge, people who are violating people's rights and assaulting people and killing people and unnecessarily in an environment they're already in. We don't need this type of situation, folks, where you go out and beat the crap out of someone for the fun of it, like a game. The private security profession, industry, has steadily tried in some areas to make itself better. And this, my friend, is a step backwards for the industry. So anyways, these three dudes, these three bullies, culprits, were arrested. They face multiple charges, and we're going to keep a close eye on this. And what else is sad is that in that same city, Denver, Colorado, on that same security force, which has quite a few security personnel, I heard at one time it was around 100. In the same Allied Universal Security Force for the Denver Regional Transit District, they've had 2 security officers killed in the last couple of years, murdered on the job. They're armed security personnel, and they've had a number of assaults, serious assaults of their personnel. So why in the world would they, at 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was during the morning hours, overnight hours, would they challenge someone and take advantage of them and beat him for no reason and bring this type of disgrace to the remembrance of the 2 faithful security officers that were killed there and their company? I often mention, about the lack of overwatch and supervision. And that really does play a huge part into whether or not security officers get in trouble, whether or not security officers do their job, whether or not we have quality service that we're providing to the client. And one of the areas that we're lacking, it doesn't matter if you're Securitas, if you're some local mom and pop, if you're Allied Universal, G4S, it doesn't matter. If you do not have a stringent, high-quality process, first to interview and train your personnel, but then to maintain quality assurance through supervision and on-site inspections. If you don't have that, you might as well close up shop, because you're going to have continual problems, people sleeping on the job and leaving the post wide open and doing things like these 3 knuckleheads did because of a lack of supervision. And all of this should not be tolerated. And a lot of clients are waking up and they're realizing, hey, this is really poor service and real problem security guards I have on my property, and they're getting rid of the companies and sometimes even suing the companies for breach of contract, among other things. So we really need to step up our game, but we really need to be on the ball as far as managing our people 24/7, not just 8 to 5, not just until the office closes and then we all go home and pretend like the world is lovely and we close our blinds and make believe nothing's going on. No, we need to manage them not from afar, but on site as often as possible. I am going to, and we are going to take a break. Thank goodness that my confidant and I guess we'll give him the title of producer. Brett Davis is with me today in the studio here in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a whole lot of other information, news, and then some discussion and hopefully some helpful tips on really providing high-quality school security services if you're going to get into that arena. So don't go away. We're coming right back in just a couple of moments.
Every 40 seconds, someone around the world takes their own life. Every 13 minutes, someone in the U.S. commits suicide. While you were getting ready for work this morning, in the first hour of your day, as many as 5 people in the U.S. have killed themselves. By lunchtime, about 20 people in the U.S. have taken their own life. At the end of an 8-hour workday, about 40 people in the U.S. killed themselves. In a 24-hour period, as many as 111 people in the U.S. committed suicide.
For some children, America isn't the land of promise. It's a place where every day is a struggle. Because today in America, 1 in 6 children lives below the poverty line. For these children, living in poverty means going without medicine, going without food, going without a warm home, or even a roof over your head. And that's life for nearly 13 million children of all races, all across America. Where will you draw the line and get involved? You can help these children and their families find a way out of poverty for good. And you can make a difference in more ways than you think. Will you help? Go to povertyusa.org today. Because 1 in 6 children in poverty is one too many.
All right, hello. We're back here on the Private Officer Radio Show. This morning we have a ton of stuff that we really want to share with you, but we never seem to have enough time. We just can't get through all of the material that we have to discuss. We could make this a 3-hour radio show almost every day. I'm telling you, we have enough material, enough news, enough information to share this, every single day with you. But for today's broadcast, a couple of announcements that we do definitely want to make. First of all, some of you have asked about the officer awards. We have them. We had a couple of late entries, and we wanted to verify those before we made any announcements. So guess what? They have been completed, and those announcements will be coming up within the next few days. Also, number 2, we just announced yesterday about something that's very special. This is our first annual, and I say annual because I think it's a great idea myself, and we want to do this on a yearly basis. So we're going to try to get this thing done every single year. We announced a free personal and business makeover. 1 personal and 1 business makeover. For the personal makeover, we're going to assist you with your resume and vitae, your credentials, consult with you on how to improve your business standing, how to improve or to find better employment that suits you, how to make more money. We're going to consult with you on several other issues and get you really up and running. If you're a business, we're going to provide you with new designs and logo assistance or review. We're going to do some marketing for you. We're going to look at your website and see if it can use a little assistance, and let our designer, professional web designer, take a look and help you out to make that more appealing, maybe even do some rebranding. We're going to be consulting with you on your business, how to maybe expand it, how to add extra services to make additional revenue, so on and so forth, and a whole lot more. How do you get involved? How do you win, you might ask? Well, that's a great question. Send an email to Stephanie K at privateofficer.com and just tell her about yourself or your business and why you should be picked. And at the end of the month, we're going to pick one individual winner and one business winner. Now, this package is worth $5,000. But wait. If you'll send your order today, we'll give you twice. No. It sounds like a great deal, and it really is. But we're going to give you something even more. For 1 year, you're going to get free consulting for yourself or your business and other things. So you better send in your email with information requested to Stephanie K at privateofficer.com. This is a really great deal, and we're excited about it, and we want you to win. So be sure to do that today. Any member, by the way, this is only for members of our association. This is a members-only gig right now. That could be changed later on. Maybe we'll do it for non-members. But because of the value of what we're giving away, we want to make sure that we offer it to our members first, and then maybe later on down the road, we'll open it up to everyone. So members, get cracking. Email that information today, and maybe you'll get picked to be the winner. Remember, one individual personal and one business makeover is available and waiting just for you. So send us that information today. All right, we have a couple of birthdays that we want to announce. Christina Bradford, we want to make sure that we send a warm happy birthday out to her. We want to say happy birthday to all of you June bugs, whoever you might be. And we want to make sure that we say a very happy birthday to Lewis Campbell. Great guy. I think he's turning 101 today. But no, he's actually turning 61 today. Close enough. And happy birthday to everybody who's having a birthday today, this week, or this month, or this year, as a matter of fact. That'll include everybody. Now, see, we got everyone all in one announcement. But if you want your birthdays, anniversaries, promotions, or other things that you've been recognized for, send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, and we will gladly announce that information to our listeners. We'll even put it in our news blog. And heck, who knows? It could go viral. You never know these days with the internet what's going to happen. We have a lot of news that we want to share with you here in the next few minutes. Today we're going to be talking in the bottom half of the hour about school security, and next week we'll be talking about school security as well. You may or may not have seen the email that was sent out a few days ago about security and law enforcement deaths have sharply risen in 2018. In fact, there are over 40 security officer deaths this year so far. We're a long ways from the 6-month period of the year, and a long ways from the end of the year. And by my estimation, if security officer deaths continue at the rate that they're going, I foresee way surpassing the 100 mark. We'll probably even surpass 125 mark. Unfortunately, the way things are going. Law enforcement, right now, it's not looking good for them either, and they've had an extremely violent year with many law enforcement officers being shot to death, and they may surpass 150 security officers killed in the line of duty this year. A little side note, as with every year for at least the last 7 or 8 years, maybe even all the years that we've been keeping statistical data, this year, security officers are dying by a huge margin from gunshots and then stabbings. And as I've mentioned recently several times, something else that's happening that normally we haven't seen in the last 15 years that we've been doing this almost, and that's car accidents, vehicle accidents, whether it be golf cart or a vehicle, some other motorized vehicle. We had a gator accident, one of those 4x4 four-wheeler type things you take off the road for patrolling. And we're seeing a lot more security officers killed in vehicle accidents. I think we got like 6 this year so far. Normally we only have maybe 1 or 2, but in the last 3 years or so it's been, 7, 8, 10. And that's because more security personnel are on patrol. They're on patrol on larger client properties. They're on patrol between different clients. They're on patrol on campuses such as colleges and even large corporate headquarters, and other companies have large campus-like properties that you have to patrol from one point to the other. We even have many security officers who have to leave their property and travel not only around the neighborhood to check other property owned by their employer, but also sometimes have to travel to the other side of town or the city to check property owned by their employer, which, sometimes, unfortunately, that leads to accidents and even death. So we're seeing a rise in motor vehicle deaths as well for security officers. But this year, unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of gunfire, both law enforcement involved as well as security involved. So keep that in mind. If you are armed, make sure that you know when to use it, how to use your weapon. Make sure that you're justified. If you're unarmed, know your surroundings. Know how to escape. Be extra cautious. Don't go around the corner, or don't make your patrols nonchalantly. Do it with, fervence, and make sure that you are alert at all times. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to talk about the news. What's happening? So much happening in the news. If you want to talk with us about anything happening in your neck of the woods, send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. Also, we are looking for guests. We're always looking for guests. We'd always have a guest. In fact, we seldom have a guest now. We used to have about once a month. But I want to go back to interviewing people, talking to people about different things. So send us an email if you're interested in being on the radio show. One more thing I might mention also, we announced a while back that we have begun a new segment in our newsletter that comes out every Wednesday and Thursday called Frontline Profile, and we're going to be profiling security, public safety, private law enforcement, and other professionals in the safety security arena and their companies, their jobs. If you'd like to get in on that, send an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com. We're going to tell folks about who you are, what you do, a little bit about your career, your company's career and history, and really highlight all of the great things that you individually or you as a company do. Again, if you want to get in on that, you want to be interviewed and you want to be profiled, send us an email, helpdesk@privateofficer.com, and someone will quickly get in touch with you and get you involved. All right, we do need to take one quick break here. When we come back, we're going to continue with the breaking news.
It's a very simple thing. It only takes 2 seconds. We all know we should do it. We all say we do it. But do we? About 35,000 people were killed in motor vehicle accidents last year. More than half were not wearing a seatbelt. A brother, a father, a mother, a best friend. Is it worth it? I lost a sister. Don't let it happen to you and your family.
Thanks for coming back with us here on the Private Officer Radio. We're over at the news desk right now. We've got a lot of breaking news here to share with you. And right here off the top, we're seeing where a fatality has occurred at the Tennessee Bonnaroo Festival. That's a huge outdoor musical festival held every year for about the 10 or 12 years here that I'm aware of in Coffee County. Now, that's just southeast of the big city of Nashville. And according to law enforcement, the person whose identity has not yet been released was governing the camping portion of the venue. Now, this is I guess it would be a mix of rock and roll and different types of music. It's a very large festival attended by 40 to 70, 80, 90,000 people. The temperatures are hot, very humid. And I know for the last few years there's been fatalities, but usually those are discovered at the end of the festival, so I'm quite surprised that on the first day that there's already a fatality. Security is often very strong. Law enforcement is there. Private security on horseback is there. And even though there are quite a few illegal activities that occur, like any large outdoor festival, usually it's pretty well maintained and contained, so I'm not really sure of the cause of this particular death. A mother in Asbury, New Jersey has filed a lawsuit against the Asbury Park Elementary School after she says, now, get this, that her first grader was restrained by school security to the point of passing out. We don't know what type of physical restraint was used, but according to the report and the news article, the child lost consciousness after the security officer restrained the 7-year-old first grader, and now the mother has filed a lawsuit. This is an area of great concern because we're seeing a lot of private security being used across the nation in schools, and that's why today and next week we're going to be addressing some of those concerns here on the Private Officer Radio Show, as well as in my news blog and other writings, so make sure that you stay tuned for that. Talking about school security right here, again, another lawsuit. This one is in Chicago by 3 former Chicago public school students who say that they were abused and sexually assaulted by the Chicago Board of Education public school security guard. Now, according to the lawsuit, the school system knew about this one particular security guard, yet did nothing about that. The students said that they were groped, sexually attacked, and often abused. In fact, the one security guard is in prison currently for criminal sexual abuse and aggravated battery in one of those cases. In Monterey County, California, police there are still looking for an armed and dangerous man after he shot a security officer working an outdoor event. It was an event for a family, and evidently there was some type of disturbance, and the security officer was shot. 2 men was wanted. 1 is in custody. We're not really sure of the security officer's condition, but we are tracking that right now. In New York, Kent, New York, an off-duty police officer from Carmel, New York, was killed this week in a motorcycle accident as he drove down the street and a mail truck backed out of a private driveway, killing Officer Gary Pepapello, 29, as he rode his motorcycle. In Broward County, Fort Lauderdale, the Sheriff's Department says they no longer want to be responsible for protecting schools. They say that's not their job to begin with, and second of all, they're just not staffed to do it. They have a lot of drug activity and crimes in Broward County, and they believe that their citizens would be better served if their deputies were actually on the road enforcing the law. Now, the Broward County Sheriff's Office also says that the right thing to do is to form a school police force in Broward County that would be specifically responsible for all crimes and security-related duties at the schools. And this is something that you can see widely used across the state of Texas, where they have independent school districts. Here where I live in North Carolina, we have school police, and other states have also formed their own police agencies just for the enforcement of laws and school security. And I think that's a pretty good idea, because right now many police agencies do not have the manpower to police and secure the schools and to do the job that they need to do appropriately, effectively, and I think that many school systems are beginning to realize that. In Schaumburg, Illinois, a security company stepped up this past week and offered free security upgrades to schools. They also had many of their employees volunteer installing the equipment. This is not just a one-time thing. The security company has done it before, as well as providing schools assistance in Georgia, Ohio, and Texas. The security company, which is based out of Schaumburg, Illinois, is a alarm technology company called Convert Technologies, pretty familiar to many people, especially in the Ohio, Illinois area. In Parkland, Florida, 2 of the Stone Douglas High School security monitors were reassigned, criticized, and I'm not really sure if they're still employed. Evidently, they had some information about what was happening, and they failed to provide adequate and immediate response. And right now, there's a big investigation in that. In Missouri, the Missouri state legislators have passed 77 bills this past week, but one of them was called the Nuclear Power Plant Security Bill, which regulates what security measures can be taken at nuclear power plants, and it also defines specifically what armed nuclear security guards can and cannot do to provide protection at those facilities. House Bill 1797 actually specifically speaks to the level of physical force that nuclear security guards can use while guarding the nuclear power plant and protect nuclear power plant employees. And also, it talks about civil liability and the limitations if the security personnel are doing their job correctly as they have been trained. In fact, this is just one of several bills that have passed in the last couple of weeks in numerous states, several states, where it specifically talks about the use of force that security officers can and cannot use. Even in a state where there's no training, no requirement for regulation, there's still a new law on the books that says how much force that security agent can use. In Henderson County, Texas, the Henderson County Sheriff's Department tells us that Mickey Joe Stubblefield, 66, was arrested. He's a security guard. He was arrested at a game room along with several other people in connection with illegal activities. Also, a Milwaukee, Wisconsin police officer was killed this week on duty. A very young rookie officer was killed, 23-year-old officer. He was in pursuit of a vehicle and evidently rolled over and unfortunately succumbed to his injuries. Denver, Colorado International Airport is saying that a man breached their security. He ran through the checkpoints. David Runer, 49, has been charged after he first sideswiped a vehicle, didn't stop, and then got out and began running through checkpoints, and later was detained and issued a criminal citation. Niagara Falls, New York, the medical center there, many employees are very concerned about their physical security. They say that the parking lot and many areas of the hospital lacks proper security, electronic security cameras. They don't feel safe walking out to the cars even during the daytime. An investigation by a local news reporter says that situations have occurred in recent months where there was no security to be found. According to this news report, they've contacted the authorities there at the hospital, and they would not comment. A Portland, Oregon security officer was injured after he was attacked by a shoplifter at a Safeway store downtown. When police responded, the suspect also assaulted the police officer. The security officer was injured. The suspect has been taken into custody. In Framingham, Massachusetts, at the Metro West Medical Center, a security guard has been arrested there for slapping a patient who had dementia. According to police, Luis Gonzalez, 50, was arrested, according to them, because he assaulted the patient, a 72-year-old man who suffers from dementia. Now, according to police report, Gonzalez worked for a private contractor and not internally for the hospital. In Idaho, there's still some debate as to whether or not they really want or need armed security. Lakeland School District is still having debates as to whether or not they should deploy armed security. That particular area has a population of about 42,000. In certain areas, there's even more sparsely areas, and they just don't feel like they need security, and that the sheriff's departments and local police do a fine job. Orlando, Florida, just this past week here, a new lawsuit was filed in the Pulse nightclub shooting. You'll remember that's where the security officer went in and killed a large number of people. According to the lawsuit, 30 law enforcement officers and 2 security guards have been named in the lawsuit because they abandoned their posts. They didn't take the appropriate actions that could have saved lives, and the lawsuit alleges that they actually caused lives to be lost. A lawsuit which could quickly turn into a class action lawsuit, which would allow previous and current employees alike to join in at the H&M store in San Jose, California. This is a lawsuit over unpaid security bag checks, where employees are made to wait as they exit the store at the end of their shift so that their bags can be searched. They say it's illegal. They weren't paid for it. This is a same old song and dance that we've seen at Amazon and Google and a number of other technology and retail employers, and especially in California, where they have strict laws as to when an employee must be paid. So, again, we are going to follow this one as well. In Burlington, Connecticut, a retiring school security officer was given a special send-off. Hundreds of students at Lake Garda Elementary School went out of their way to show their appreciation for Bill Anesco, better known there at the school as Mr. O. In fact, he's very easy to spot because he wears a bright orange shirt while on duty. Students and staff say that they love him, and he says he loves his job so much, but that it was time to retire. Also in Kansas City this week, a armored truck driven by a Brinks employee was involved in a crash on Missouri Highway 152. Now, there were some injuries, but the Brinks armored car was not responsible for the crash. And after police conducted an investigation and one of the drivers of the other vehicles was transported, the armored vehicle was actually able to get back out on the road and continue their route. In Longmont, Colorado, the city there has just contracted with a local regional security company to conduct patrols of their parks and city downtown areas and other property. They say that they do not have enough law enforcement to cover these areas, especially during the summer months when the police department is extra busy, and therefore they've hired this private agency to do those patrols and provide those visibilities. Well, you may have seen if you read and get our news emails, our news alerts, that this week 2 security officers were killed or found dead. One was killed at the New Mexico-Colorado region where his vehicle evidently went off the road while he was on duty. He has not been identified. The state police are still investigating that crash. In Maine, a security officer, Daniel Gagnon, 26, had gone missing there. Police say he was found deceased in a wooded area by the Maine Game Warden Service. Now, that security officer did work for a local hospital there. Police are not releasing cause of death, although they don't really believe that it's suicide, and they're not really sure if it's a homicide. So, again, we're going to be following that as well. A couple more quick items in the news before we head over at the bottom of the hour to a training topic or a specific concern that we have about school security. Also in the news before we get over there is a brand new on-demand private security platform based out of Atlanta has just launched. This platform evidently is so that business owners and customers can employ private security directly. That may or may not work in some regulated states. There are some concerns, but we are actually looking into this company a little bit more to see if there's any improprieties. In Akron, a security officer there discovered a deceased body, a man who had been shot several times during a disturbance at an apartment complex. The security officer notified law enforcement, and the man was DOA. That's going to wrap up today's edition here of the news. Lots of news. Be sure to sign up for the news at privateofficer.org, O-R-G. When you go to our website, a drop-down box will automatically pop up, and you'll be able to sign up right then and there for our breaking news, our officer down alerts, and our upcoming training events. And if you're not already a member of POI, be sure to sign up today at privateofficer.org. Each member gets more than 40 member benefits. In fact, we just added 3 more this past week. A whole lot for a whole little. Be sure to check us out at privateofficer.org. We're going to take one more quick break, but when we come back, we are going to be talking about school security. It's a great opportunity for contract security firms, old and new, big and small, to jump in and automatically get some good, solid hours, a good account under their belt, and really begin to expand through school systems. However, there are pros and cons just like with everything else, and we want to address those this week and next week here on the Private Officer Beat. So we're going to come right back in just a moment. Don't go away, because if you do, we're going to track you down, and it's not going to be pretty. All right, we'll be right back.
From coast to coast, cops are cracking down on seatbelt violations. Buckle up day and night or expect a ticket. It doesn't matter who you are or where you live, they'll be on the lookout. Cops write tickets to save lives. Click it for ticket.
All right, welcome back to the Private Officer Beat Radio. Glad you are joining us. Glad that you hung around through those breaks, and now you're going to be rewarded with some great information and some great training, more or less. But we are talking today about a very important topic, a topic that is both concerning as exciting. As with everything, it has its pros and cons, and it's important that we understand what we're getting into before it happens. You know, with the continual barrage of shootings at public and private schools and a death count continuing to mount in such a short time, it is really understandable that the government officials and school administrators and even parents are now calling for the armed security officers in every school across the country. And while many are looking toward law enforcement to either provide or to step up what they already have in place, the reality is that's not going to be the reality in many areas where they just don't have the manpower. Of course, there's also a concern for the school systems because they just don't have the financial means to pay the larger fees that law enforcement agencies charge to staff those schools with SROs. And many schools are looking and have looked toward private security to supply those resources, that manpower, and those services. And that's all great for the big guy, the big companies, the small mom-and-pop security companies in small and regional areas, and those in between to come forward, step up, get those accounts, and provide those services. And while I certainly endorse the thought of using a private agency, the realist in me is really concerned about a number of things because, you know, school security accounts are not like having a security officer at the local mall, factory, or business complex or your neighborhood residential community. What happens at the school, besides the active shooter scenarios, is that we actually have a city within a city. Many campuses are 1,000, 2,000, 1,500 people at any given time on the campus. Students from all backgrounds, employees and staff of all backgrounds, people coming from every area of our society. And then you have those parents, staffers, divorcees, ex-spouses, lovers, and others who come to the property to be confrontational, to possibly cause a conflict. We have crimes that are committed on the property. One of the most frequent crimes is theft, but we also have sexual assaults. We have drug crimes. We have other incidents that occur on any given campus at any given time. And with all of the activity that happens on a campus, I'm telling you right now, from my own personal knowledge, my own experience, that the average security officer applicant probably will not be able to handle it. We have many, 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 many concerns. And before we get too excited about the contract, about the revenues, about the possibility of growth potential for our companies, we really do have to address these concerns. Now, there are security companies in areas that I'm familiar with that have taken over SRO responsibilities from sheriff's departments who have already been at the school property. They've come in and the school system has relieved the deputy sheriffs and hired the contract security they've been there for one school year without much of an incident, and they've actually done a great job. They've been able to assess a couple of threats that has happened and resolved and taken care of it and done business quite effectively. But that's them. That's not everybody. So let's start with a couple of concerns that we have. Of course, training is going to be a big issue because unlike the 8 to 24-hour unarmed security regulatory training that's required in most states, or even 40 hours for the armed security, we have many other areas and topics that we must train on. Now, in the past 3 months, we have actually checked with more than a dozen states who are now hiring private security to protect the schools there, and found that only 2 states are requiring any additional training beyond what their state regulatory board or current state statutes require for any person applying to be an armed security officer. No additional training, no additional background, no additional anything. In an environment such as a school, we know there's going to be issues. We know that there's going to be situations that you just don't handle at an apartment complex or a shopping center or some office building. And understanding how teens think and why they respond as they do is an important factor for us to be able to understand it all and work in and around the students. De-escalation techniques that are geared toward criminals may not be effective when you're dealing with a 14-year-old or 12-year-old or 18-year-old over a disciplinary action that may have just occurred, and they're upset, and now they're not listening. Well, they're not really a criminal. They're just upset. They're a young person, some of them teenagers, not adults. Actually, most violations being committed by students on campus don't even rise to the level of a criminal offense. And if they do, they're very, very minor in nature, such as disorderly conduct, which really needs to be tactfully and sometimes even diplomatically addressed. Not throw the cuffs on, not throw them down, not body slam them, as we have seen in the last few months over and over again, as school security officers who are poorly trained think that they are in the WWE and that they're out there body slamming and taking people down like it's a game. It's not a game. It's a serious, serious offense. And those security officers who use that type of force unnecessarily, unreasonably, should be dealt with and criminally charged. A school is really a microcosm of society, and like life itself, it's complex, it's diverse. A city within a city, as I said moments ago. Everything and everyone is all there. You have so many different personalities to deal with. We have so many cultures, especially in the large metropolitan schools, many of which we don't really understand what their way is, what their thinking is, what their culture is, why they do what they do. It's our job to understand. It's our job to get familiar with and not just full speed ahead our way or the highway. In this environment, training is essential beyond what you normally would do or what is required. We need to make sure that they have serious communication skills. We need to make sure that they understand, first, all about escalation. What escalates a person? They need to understand that before they understand how to de-escalate that person. We need to have advanced training and use of force so that they understand it's not just a physical force, but it could be the verbal force. It could be the threat of force that could get them in trouble. Training in first aid, training in sex and drug crimes, training in what is trespassing and how to deal with parental issues when you have disruptive people, including parents, on the campus. Giving them 6, 10, 15, 20 hours of training is not going to cut it in this environment. And if you think it is, you're going to be really sadly mistaken when you start having all of the complaints and issues and lawsuits and arrest of your staff because of poor training. Understanding and realizing what it is that you're getting into is going to stop that from happening if you follow through before placing those officers on campus. We need to talk to them about what their authority is and what the difference is between a violation of school policy and a violation of the law. Because if they think that every time that a student violates a school rule, that gives security the right and opportunity to body slam them, to throw them up against the wall, to sling them down the hallway, to pull and push on them, no, it doesn't. And they need to understand that they will be the ones criminally charged quickly, especially in the schools that are well covered with security cameras and video. When law enforcement responds and they take a look at what happened, it's going to be all over for the security person. So they have to understand what the law is, what the use of force really covers, when to use it, how to use it, and when to assess that situation before using force. There are many rewards, but with many rewards comes much responsibility. We must take action. We must be prepared. We can't just storm into these accounts. Oh, we're ready. We're here. We got a uniform. No, that doesn't work that way. Slapping a uniform on somebody and saying we're ready doesn't make them ready. In fact, that leads to my second concern. We've noticed that some security firms are going to school security accounts and handling them like any other account, slapping a uniform on the employee, sometimes ill-fitting, unprofessional, making sure that they are on the job, but really not there 100%. They haven't been trained. They haven't been equipped. They haven't been oriented to security at a school. Schools from elementary to post-secondary are not just any ordinary contract, and they have to be managed by somebody that has previous law enforcement or school security management background. I know a lot of you are going to say, whoa, I'm the operations manager, 17 years, XYZ company. I've had dozens and hundreds of clients. Yeah, exactly. And you lost them. Probably because you handle them all the same. It has to be managed by somebody who understands school security, somebody who has an education in campus, law enforcement, and security, and somebody who can not only understand but be able to write proper policy and procedure, to do proper security assessments, to be able to talk the lingo, to somebody who's really going to take 100% control of that account and treat it like they were protecting their home or that their own children were in that school. Because school security officers need to be prepared and equipped. We see all the time in many accounts across the country security officers lacking the proper equipment, not even a flashlight out there at night. And definitely no two-way radio, no two-way communication. School security officers need to be equipped They need to be mentally prepared, physically capable of constant walking and potentially breaking up fights or defending themselves or others. And they must be good cognitive thinkers, capable of responding to many different type of incidents, problems, and issues without hesitation or guidance from others. They've got to be able to take control of the situation appropriately, quickly, effectively, without calling 15 people to see what he should do or what she should do. They must be properly equipped. And that's not just giving them a notepad and a uniform. And while we're speaking about equipment and uniforms, don't give them hand-me-downs. Don't give them some type of uniform that's been in your closet there for gosh knows how many years. Their equipment and uniforms should be new, professional, crisp, and adequate for the task at hand. This is not your every other contract. This should not be treated by some other, oh, it's just a manufacturer job. Nobody's there. He's on third shift. That's not what you got. You have a city within a city. You have a complex account where anything could pop off at any time. And it's your security officer who's the frontline officer. He has to know what to do and how to do it the right way. And we haven't even begun talking about responding to true emergencies, crimes in progress, and God forbid, active shooters. No, this isn't just any other contract. This isn't just any other account. This isn't just some place you'll be able to slip people in and out, rotate people like a revolving door. Somebody new every 3 days. Somebody new every week. The principal won't know who's who. No, they don't want that. They want somebody who's steadfast, somebody who is dependable, somebody who's going to be there long term. This is not, I repeat again, any other ABC account. This is a special account. It has special needs. It has a lot of different complex areas, and we need to address it in the whole sense from A to Z. Now, I've only covered 2 areas. I have 6 areas that I really need to cover. And next week, we're going to talk about communication, coordination, overwatch, and being able to manage emergencies and high-stress situations that your security officers got to be the point man on. And depending on who you have there, it can either go great or it can be a complete disaster, which could cost people their lives. If you're a security supervisor, manager, owner of a security firm, and you're thinking about getting into school security, I really strongly suggest that you heed my words and that you begin to think this over and begin to plan and assess it like no other account that you have ever had. People can get hurt. People can get killed. A lot of things can happen. And we haven't even begun talking about the liability aspect, lawsuits, or criminal prosecutions of you and your staff. That's going to do it for this edition of the Private Officer Radio Show. We're glad that you have joined us. I hope that we've been insightful and that we have given you some things to really think about over the next week. Join us, part 2, coming up next week on the Private Officer Beat. Remember, go to privateofficer.org today. Join up to our great association. Get yourself 40-plus member benefits. And, hey, as a member, guess what? You have connections to our office, to our management staff, to our resources. So if you do get one of those school contracts, hey, you know what? You're going to have insider help. That's all for today. Be safe, be blessed. We'll see you back here on the radio.